Hello, hello, all you beautiful people. So, I am here to tell you about what I personally consider my game of the year. That game is called Remnant 2, and it's a sequel to Remnant from the Ashes. I haven't played the original, but I've played a couple hundred hours of Remnant 2 thus far. Now, probably the easiest and best way I can sell you on the idea of the game is to describe it with just a few real simple descriptions. Well, adjectives. Roguelite, Souls-like with guns. Now, I don't think it's quite fair to Remnant, or at least not Remnant 2, to call it Dark Souls with guns, because it really isn't. It is a Souls-like. It's both the same general layout as a Souls game, sure. But the focus on Remnant 2 is not melee, but you also got guns. It is very much so a ranged-focused game. It's also got a lot more emphasis on, let's say, classes than you do in Dark Souls game. My first FromSoft game was Elden Ring, so I'll draw comparisons to that. In Elden Ring, you got your different stats. You know, vigor, stamina, strength, dex, and faith, etc. And you level those and you unlock spells or weapons, and you just scale your damage up that way. In Remnant, it's not quite so simple. You don't just have traits that you level and get bonuses from. You got traits that you assign points to that, you got your standard vigor, endurance. But then you got, much stranger things like untouchable that increase your evade window. Or something like rugged that increases the health of your summons if you partake of the summoner class. The build diversity in Remnant 2 is also incredibly high. Much more so even than something like Elden Ring, just with the volume of guns for primary and secondary and melee weapons that you've got. And the fact that you can have 4 rings, and you've got a lot of rings to choose from. There's also the fact that in Remnant 2, you really do have classes, or rather archetypes, that you choose from that have 4 passives, a trait that you get just for having it, and 3 skills that you can choose from as you level it up to 10. Pair all that with the fact that, much like in Elden Ring, where you've got Ashes of War, in Remnant 2, you got mods that you slap on your weapons. For example, on my fully automatic shotgun here, I've got something called Hot Shot. Which imbues them initiative with fire and increases my range damage. So, while it is a Souls-like, it's very much so its own distinct game. As for the game itself, it is a roguelite, and I mean that in the best possible way. On your initial playthrough, you will roll at one of 3 destinations: Yeisha, Ulsan, or Nerud. I'm not going to go into much detail about each one of those individual locations, because I think that it'd be better if you find that out yourself. But each of them is radically different from each other, and each of them is procedurally generated from start to finish, with different different side dungeons, different bosses, etc. It makes it a very replayable game because it is very unlikely that you'll ever get the same run twice. Especially not in rapid succession. That being said, in addition to the campaign that you play through, you also have access to something called Adventure Mode, where you can roll up a side story of just a single world in any of the ones that you've unlocked. That lets you, let's say, you roll a soul on your first one, which is, in my opinion, probably the best starting world to get. And you play through it and you beat it. And then you just think, you know, I really like that. I want to play through it again. Or see what else Lucerne has to offer. You can then, after you've beaten it once, roll up an adventure mode. On an easier difficulty, a harder difficulty, if you've unlocked it. And you can just play through that one world on its own. Of course, your character gets to keep all their gear and all that kind of stuff, but not quest items. Much like New Game Plus. And after you beat the campaign, you can then reroll the campaign and do another full playthrough. Thus the roguelite aspects of it. Which all that accounted for. I'd like to say that, for one thing, the game looks quite nice. It's got nice physics, a bit of clipping issues for some things, but quite nice physics. The guns all feel good and sound good and look good. For example, with the drumfish shotgun here, you can see the drum rotating as it chambers each round. See the ejector firing. Good muzzle flash. It actually has some good kick. Mitigated because I've got some handling. But all the different weapons feel and sound good, which is very important. Especially for a game with as much focus on range as this game has. There is no lock-on mechanic, unlike in other Souls-like games, because, you know, if you get a lock-on where they're going, then that's a wee bit bullshit. Also, note with mods, dipping back over to that, is the fact that they changed the physical appearance of it. So, if I had tossed on this mode from the Lucerne region, it gets a thematically appropriate appearance. If I swap it out with, say, Healing Shot, it gets a different kind of appearance to it, to show that it's the general region that the mod is from. Which makes it very satisfying, because you can use your mods to change the actual physical appearance of your weapon and theme your build around it if you so choose. The variety of mods is also very, very satisfying. For example, in Thai, on demand. As I mentioned earlier, your classes also have different abilities. For example, the challenger class I've got is one called Rage that makes you shoot a gun more effectively. And after you do a certain amount of damage, you shoot gun even more effectively. By effectively, I mean faster, and it gives you infinite ammo reserves. The Gunslinger has the gunslingeriest of abilities, where you get to whip out a 6-shooter. And all this is just the basic mechanics of the game. Not even getting into, you know, how good everything else looks, like the terrain. Even just the hub area has secrets that you can find in it, and it's well designed. The different vendors are not the most fleshed out, in my personal opinion, but they're still very distinct characters that, even if you don't necessarily like them, I'm mostly talking about that bitch right there, antisocial loss, they're still distinct and memorable, and enjoyable. Especially Mudtooth, the crazy old man with wild stories. Now then, getting on to everything else that has earned it my personal favorite game of the year. With, you know, no real competition for me anyways. None that comes close to it. The boss design of the game is phenomenal. Not every boss is one that I love. But even the bosses that I don't like bring something to the game and provide a different and varied experience. For example, there's a boss called Legion that I would best describe as being an endurance fight. Obviously, that's not what you quite expect from a Souls-like game. You usually think, you fighting a boss or a dual boss. Or something like that, where it's a direct combat. Legion is a main boss, but it is a boss that is about endurance. Clearing odds, measuring your damage output, and using your opportunities to get damage in when you can, then playing safe and just dealing with the hordes of enemies. Which I don't have a good comparison from in my knowledge of Souls games from where I've seen others play them, and from what I've played myself. It's just nothing that quite hits that same note. And the gimmick fights in this game aren't just something like the Rykard fight in Elden Ring, where it's, oh, you use this weapon because it's a gimmick fight. And this is a gimmick weapon that enables you to fight the gimmick fight. It's a lot more actual gimmicks. For example, the major boss that you fight after clearing your first world is a maze puzzle bullet hell? Or not quite bullet hell, but light bullet hell? I suppose that's the best way I can describe it. Which, it's a very interesting fight. It obviously is not something for everyone. It's not my favorite fight of the game, but it adds to the game in that it's something different and unique. And it helps flesh out, or not flesh out, but round out the variety of the game. I'd say a good comparison would be, rather than having fights like Horaloo and Melania and Radagon and all these where it's mostly direct combat, you've got a wider variety of bosses that are all unique. Which is really satisfying, honestly. Learning each boss and how they move and fight, when it's so radically different, and learning the mechanics for the more unique boss fights, really satisfies that itch in my brain for that kind of challenge. Because it's not just you learn the moveset, it's you learn the mechanics. Because for some of them, it's just so different from everything else. It makes it very, very interesting to go into. Another thing that I just absolutely love about this game is the soundtrack. The composer, Rob Westwood, has done a phenomenal job on every track that I've listened to in this game. I listen to it just on my own when I'm, working out, training, or just chilling time, and I just want something to listen to. The tracks are just phenomenal across the board, and they really, really just fit the theme for each encounter that you're in. The combat music, the boss music, everything is just top notch. I have no qualms in saying that I absolutely love it. It is phenomenal. Everything about this game, for me, is, if not perfect, really fucking close to it. And for me, this game has easily taken my choice for, this is my personal game of the year for 2023. I cannot think of another game that has come out this year that has so interrupted me in just the game, the setting, just made me fall in love with the story and the music and the gameplay mechanics and everything. There's nothing else that's just come anywhere near close to it. And we're told the tidbits of lore that you can find by exploring and all the secrets that you can track down. It really rewards you for just exploring the game to the fullest and getting every last drop of enjoyment out of it. And that's pretty much my opinion on the game. It's not quite perfect, I wouldn't say. There's some bugs, there's some balance issues, but they're so minor, and you can get around at least the balance issues by just using other stuff. That it really is just phenomenal. Actually, another thing that sets this aside from other Souls-like games is the multiplayer. This game is fully multiplayer compatible. There is no someone's in, beat an area, they get disconnected, or is sent back to their own road. The idiot reselling them. No. You can play the full fucking game after the tutorial, of course, in co-op. And if you and, whoever you're playing with do the full playthrough together, you both get all the same rewards. Loot is shared between you, so there's no, oh, I need to pick this up because I need the resources. No, everything's shared between you. If one person picks up scrap, which is the, souls, or whatever the currency of choice for the game is, everyone gets it. Same for crafting materials, same for unique items. It's just phenomenal. The fact that on my first full playthrough, I did it with a friend of mine, and we played through the full game together. It's just, you can do that. You don't get separated, you don't have to rejoin, nothing. And there are some, latency issues with it, but for the most part, it's not that bad. And beyond that, you don't really have all that many issues with disconnecting usually. The game is not terribly optimized either. It's not a broken mess of release unlike so many other games that come out nowadays. It's just good. Honestly, I could probably go on for a while longer if I just kept looking for things that I could praise about this game, because there really is no limit to it. The game is nigh perfect, and I really feckin' love it. If you've been thinking about getting it, I very strongly recommend trying it. If you can find it, or catch it on sale on a Steam weekend or something, certainly do so. But I'd honestly say that it's worth its full price. And at present, from now until the 31st. The developer has a Halloween event going on. The pumpkins and such that have added ways to change up some of your weapons, specific weapons, mind you. They've added new mutators, which is another mechanic that you can really deep dive into because it's another layer of customization that add a variety of effects to your weapons, both ranged and melee. And just the amount of ability that you have to make your own build and make it truly unique and just completely different from anything else is amazing, unparalleled. Like, Elden Ring has good build variety, but you still usually fall into like a strength build or a dex build or an arcane build or a build that focuses around status effects or raw damage or jump attacks, etc. In Remnant 2, you can make some truly unique builds by pairing the different archetypes and such. And your different weapons and different mods. And it really is just a phenomenal experience that I highly recommend. I cannot stress enough just how good I think this game is. It is just a wonderful game that I truly love, and I look forward to seeing everything that the developers add to it. They've already confirmed that the first DLC is in the works. I don't know when it's coming out. It might be out by the end of the year, maybe. I don't have anything to base that off of, but I know that one of the lead devs was posting about it earlier today. So, I am sincerely hoping that we get to see that soon, and I'm very, very much so looking forward to putting more hundreds of hours in this game because the game deserves it, and I feckin' love it. So, if you're thinking about picking the game up, or if you hadn't heard of it and this is the first time you've seen anything about it, it is, well, 100% worth a look. If you like roguelites, if you like shooters, if you like Souls-like games, if you like getting to customize your own character, honestly, there is so much to love about this game, and I just wanted to share, how much I love it and everything that I love about it with all of yous. So, I very sincerely hope that you consider giving it a look and hope that you get to enjoy it as much as I do. Until next time, I don't know what my next video will be on, but until then, I hope you all have a lovely time, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.